What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Pat Cave. Today we're going to be talking about the Trioxin barrel from Return of the Living Dead. This is going to be part one of a little series that I'm going to do. So stick around, we're going to get into it right after this. Alright, so welcome back. I'm doing my last video for October, even though it might be out a few days late. As I said, I'm getting married soon, and I just haven't had time with planning and work to get a new video done. Hopefully I can get those back on track though soon. And for anyone wondering, this is my final costume from October. I'm Luke Danes from the Gilmore Girls series. It's my fiance's favorite TV show. Her and her mom grew up on it, and I've watched it. It's great. It's a nice little fall show. This is kind of a subtle costume, so if you didn't recognize who I was, I don't blame you. It'd be hard to notice unless you're like a diehard fan. So this series is going to be about the Return of the Living Dead Trioxin barrel. And Return of the Living Dead is a series that was like a spin-off from Night of the Living Dead zombie series. Kind of more of like a comedy horror as opposed to the straight horror that Night of the Living Dead was. And in the movie, I'll show you a little clip here that kind of explains what the barrels are. But basically, the army used them to transport the zombies inside, and they're kind of, I don't want to say asleep, but I guess they were asleep. It never really explains how they got them in there in the first place, since they don't ever die.
Frank?
Yeah, kid.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Oh, kid. I have seen weird things come, and I have seen weird things go. But the weirdest thing I ever saw just had to cap it all.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah. That's the one where the corpses start eating the people, right? Sure. What about it?
Did you know that movie was based on a true case?
Oh, come on, you're shitting me, right?
I ain't never been more serious in my life.
That's not possible. I mean, they showed zombies taking over the world.
Well, they changed it all around. What really happened was, back in 1969 in Pittsburgh at the VA hospital, there was a chemical spill, and all that stuff kind of leaked down into the morgue, and it made all the dead bodies kind of jump around as though it was alive.
What chemical?
2,4,5 Trioxin, it's called. It was to kind of spray on marijuana or something, and the Darrow Chemical Company was trying to develop it for the Army. And they told the guy who made the movie that if he told the true story, they'd just sue his ass off. So he changed all the facts around.
So what really happened?
Well, they closed it all down, see? And the Army shipped all that contaminated dirt and all those dead bodies out. And they kept it a secret.
So how come you know about it?
What typical Army fuck-up. The transportation department got the orders crossed. And they shipped those bodies here instead of to the Darrow Chemical Company. Hello? Oh, hi, honey. No, I'll be home in about an hour. You keep the pot roast hot, okay? Yeah, sure. I love you too, honey. Yeah. Kiss, kiss. Want to see him?
See him?
The corpses.
What are you talking about?
They're down in the basement.
No.
Come on.
No way.
Hey, Mind the third step, it's a bitch.
And they just brought those bodies here and left them?
Well, you know the Army.
And they've been here all this time?
14 years, as I recall.
No kidding.
There they are.
There's bodies in there? Oh, shit! Look at that! You say that thing was alive?
So they say.
Oh, God. Hey, these things don't leak, do they?
Leak? Hell no. These things were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Oh, fuck!
So I built a Part 2 barrel years ago, and there's some subtle differences between the first movie and the second movie. The one from Part 2, excuse me if I'm sniffling, it's because I have a cold, like I said. So in Part 2, Return of the Living Dead 2, the barrels are very similar in design. They're pretty close. There's a few key differences, mainly that the second movie, they have a keypad on the front that has like, you know, the digits, like I put a password in, a little piece of glass over it. And it had like a sticker on it with some instructions, and also the dome, the lid for that's a little bit different. It has like a valve on top or like a handle or something, and these strips of tape or plastic, I don't know exactly what they were, but the first movie is the one I'm going for this time around, and I found a screen accurate barrel after searching forever. The people that have made one of these know these are kind of hard to come by for whatever reason. They're just not something you see very often. They're 55-gallon drums. They're plastic. The ones, to my knowledge, the ones from the movie were always black, and that seems to be the case with the one I found too. They have two compression rings, one on the top and one on the bottom, as opposed to most other 55-gallon barrels that just have the one ring. So I've already cut off the bottom ring with a cutoff tool, and I'll show a little video of that too once I head out to the garage here. In the movie, you know, the zombies are stored inside. There's like a clear cutaway of the glass on top, and that's where the Tar Man's going to be. And the Tar Man is one of the most famous zombies out there. He was the zombie that was inside the Trioxin barrel that gets opened by Freddy and Frank in the basement of the Unita Medical Supply Warehouse. And I actually had a casting of the Tar Man from years ago. I'll put a couple close-ups of that in there. And this was from the movie molds, and the head that's inside the tank that you see with the arms folded across its chest. I don't think the arms ever, I haven't seen anybody that had copies of the arms for whatever reason. I think I read that the molds didn't last, so they kind of fell apart, and I don't think any of the arms are out there that I've seen. Maybe they are, but if they are, I haven't seen any. This head I actually bought in around 2009. It actually has a date on the back. 2009 was when I got it, and it's foam filled, hard plastic on the outside. So back when I built my first barrel from Return of the Living Dead 2, I lived in an apartment back then. I didn't have a whole lot of space to work with, so I donated that to the local haunted house. It's called Dreams in Darkness, or Dreams of Darkness, and they're really nice people. They came and picked it up, and the tar man was in there as well because I didn't want to send it off just empty, and I had no reason to have the tar man without the barrel, so I gave that to them, and they've used it for like ever since then. So it's been about 13 years. I decided now that I found the correct barrel from part 1 that I wanted to make a closer and more accurate replica of that. So I reached out to them and I said, well, hey, is there any way I can please get the head back, and just so I can make a copy for myself, because I can't seem to find one anymore. They seem a little bit rare too. And they messaged me, and apparently the original barrel got broken by patrons, they said, which, it's not hard to believe because people do all sorts of crazy stuff during Halloween, especially if, like it can grab something, maybe the glass got broken, or I had installed a pipe on the top that was supposed to shoot fog. The woman there had saved the head miraculously. This was the piece that I needed the most, and they were really nice people. They brought it to me intact, so I'm going to be able to use that. This paint on the front, this green paint, it looks like glow-in-the-dark paint, and I'm sure it's just because the haunted houses were so dark, they might have been hard to see with the skin color on that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. In my next video, I might do the stencil for the front where it says property, Department of the Army, phone number. That's always a task. I think last time I did it, I had to print the stencil out and then cut it out with an X-Acto knife, I want to say, and then I taped it on the front. I got to do the paint for the barrel. I got to cut a template for the lid where the glass window goes. And I think I used some kind of fragile plexiglass last time. This time around, I'm going to use a sheet of polycarbonate. They sell it at Lowe's and like Home Depot. It's very strong, won't crack or chip easily. So I'm going to go that route. Hopefully the window's a lot more durable this time. There's the dome lid, which, as anyone that's tried to build these knows, the dome is the hardest part of the whole thing because they don't make them. They vacuum form the ones from the movie. I've never seen anybody that had one that looked super accurate. I've seen a couple people that made them. Some cool ones, admittedly, but they're just not the same as the movie. Either they're taller or they're just not the right shape. So I'm gonna try and see if I can get somebody to maybe design a 3D model, print one, go from there for mine. I also located the little locks, they're fasteners that go on the sides. And then there's also one in the middle. I haven't quite figured out what it is. It looks kind of like a strike plate or some type of a fastener that folds up like in the C shape and like locks onto the lid. So I need to do a little more research into that. The reference for the barrels is very scarce. I haven't even seen any behind the scenes photos or anything, but hopefully I can get that figured out. But for today, I'm just going to be cutting the bottom off the barrel, so we're going to start there. If you guys want to follow me out to the garage, I'll go ahead and get to work cutting that off and show you the ring that I already removed. And I know that people are looking for these for like the rings. They're very unique. You don't see them on any other barrels, but they are very big. They're long. And then when I cut it off, the tool is only a 3-inch disc, and it couldn't cut straight through, so I had to kind of go at different angles, and it just kind of got mangled. Otherwise, it might be worth trying to save it, but as it is, I don't really see there being a point to that. Let's go ahead and head on out. So this is the ring that I chopped off so far. Yeah, I had to use a skill. I was going to try and cut it just one nice cut, and as you can see, it did not work out like that at all. This thing's pretty massive too. These are meant to go around the whole side of the drum, so it got chewed up pretty bad when I was cutting it. And this is the barrel itself. As you can see, it's got the screen accurate details on top, this little pattern around the edge here. This is the portion that's cut out where the window is going to be, where the tar man's face and arms are going to show. And then you can see there's the ring around the top. We've got these little like raised areas. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said he actually has another barrel that looks identical to this, minus these little like bumps, so which is kind of interesting. But yeah, once you cut the ring off, you're left with something like this down here on the bottom. That's where the ring was, right here. Yeah, so that's gone. So that's today's project. I'm just going to chop that off of there. Got to charge my battery first, though. And yeah, I'll be right back. And we're back. Yeah, so cutting off, trying to cut that bottom section off didn't go quite according to plan. The barrel's not flush on the sides. It kind of goes in where I won't need to cut it. And I think that was my problem is you know, the cutoff disc, like I said, it's 3 inches. It's not deep enough to cut into where I need to. So I might need to look at a different method for doing that, removing it. But I'll probably figure something out once I feel better and get like a better suited tool for it. Maybe a jigsaw or something like that I think might work. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. You'll see my progress on the barrel. You'll see how it comes together and then hopefully the finished result. I'll catch you guys next time.